Today on Drawbli, Abby is drawing
Ancient.
Click that subscribe button if you're new around here.
And comment below with other ideas of what we can do to improve as artists.
So I saw that you were doing a little draw over there, studying your reference, I presume, as you are not using those lines now.
No, not at all. Yeah, I like tracing is fine, but I don't like to use it in my actual work. I don't know.
Right.
I just don't like to.
Well,
there's nothing wrong with it.
So tracing is kind of a childish term to me, but a draw over is actually a helpful thing, a helpful tool, especially as a 3D artist if you're studying a reference. So you definitely use that there to gauge your angles and everything. I can see you measuring out stuff here too. That's cool.
Yeah, this was really fun. I never had done this before, but I was having trouble with my proportions, so I got these little lines and I started moving them around. It was a fun way to work on things. So the reference is from the 1950s or 1960s movie, yeah, called Cleopatra.
Okay.
Little whitewashed.
I recognize it, but
by a little I mean a lot whitewashed.
I haven't seen it.
But I have not seen it either. But this is a famous actress. If I remembered her name, you would be like, oh, yeah, I know that name. But I don't remember her name. But suffice to say, she's a famous 1950s, 60s starlet.
Okay, cool.
And definitely not an Egyptian person. But there she is in the role of Cleopatra. And I did that because ancient, right? Ancient Egyptian.
What's funny is we both went Egyptian for our ancient prompt.
Oh yeah, I'm excited to see yours. I've only glimpsed it briefly.
Yeah.
But I think it's better than mine.
Oh no, yours is amazing. Mine's mediocre at best.
Yes.
Something we haven't mentioned in a while, by the way, for people listening and watching. You can share your work online using the hashtag Drawbli. If you're watching an episode of Drawbli and you just so happen to think to yourself, ooh, I would like to try drawing something ancient.
Yeah, we have decided we're going to try to be better about posting our art to the Instagram.
Eventually.
Eventually. By the time this comes out, we will have rounded that corner. And we'd like to be better about that because we want to see what you make too. And we are so flattered and happy and excited when you post your things with the hashtag Drawbli.
Yeah, if anybody ends up drawing something and sharing it, might appear in a future Drawbli episode.
Yeah, because one really cool thing about Drawbli that I like is, the chance to get to connect with other people on something that maybe we wouldn't connect with you on other things. Maybe you're really different from us in a lot of ways. We wouldn't talk at parties. I don't go to parties. That's one barrier there.
That is a big barrier to talking at parties.
We can bond over art, and I'd love to bond with each and every one of you who's watching. So please. Share your work.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Your lines look so good. I actually remember walking by you when you were painting this and I saw your line art and I was like, holy crap, that looks amazing.
Thank you. I love creating lines. I think that's a really, really fun part of workflow. One thing that this piece taught me on reflection, when I watched the whole thing back on my own, I realized I really want to get more efficient in my workflow and recognize what's going to cause problems down the road.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely something that comes with time. Like when I'm looking at a character I'm about to sculpt, I'm like, oh, that hair is going to be a pain. It's going to take forever. Oh, that shading, that's a little confusing. That clothing's complicated. And I see a lot of that stuff when I'm drawing already, but there are definitely some things where I'm like, oh yeah, let's try this.
Yeah.
And then it ends up being way harder than I thought. But
yeah.
I think we do that a lot less in general than when we started Drawbli.
A lot less, but you can see here, I didn't realize, hey, if I had just been a little cleaner with my lines the first time, I wouldn't have to spend so much time cleaning them up here. Or if I had just done a whole new line layer pass and just done a clean set on top of my messy set, because later on, I keep running into these kind of messy lines and these really thick areas of lines where it's just messy, and I have to spend so much more time cleaning that up, on top of all the other things I need to work on, which there's a lot. There's a lot.
There is a lot, yeah.
Yeah. I did make a note of how long I spent on this.
Ooh, how long?
3.5 hours.
Wow.
Yeah, nothing by professional standards, right?
No.
But a little low power button has just popped up on the screen for a second there.
We're running out of battery.
3.5 hours. And yeah, like, I mean, I feel like with everything right now, I'm still learning so much. Another thing I learned from this, and we'll get to this
You're
soon.
putting all these fun colors in there.
Yeah, I decided to just try to represent the braids with the highlights on the dark hair.
Oh, very cool. I like that a lot.
Yeah, not highlights, but maybe like reflections of color. I watched a Cynic's video about, he said when painting like dark surfaces, like whether it's skin or hair, very dark things, since they absorb light and color differently, you're not so much painting highlights as you are painting more reflected color. Like
reflections.
Yeah.
I mean, that's all highlight specifically is the reflection of your light source.
Yeah. Here you can see that I am not good enough to make up my own skin. In fact, I realized from watching this back originally and working on it that it really wouldn't hurt me to look up a few skin tutorials. Again, not that I haven't looked up a bunch before, and really try to practice that.
Skin tone in general is really hard because it's very easy to make it look flat and kind of dead.
Yeah, that's what I keep running into. Dead skin. Girl, exfoliate. Get that dead skin cell off.
One thing we talked about a long time ago was saturating your midtones. We sat down together and we looked at just painting a sphere. I don't know if you remember this, and I showed you how you can really saturate those midtones. That's a nice little tip for making your skin not feel quite as dead.
Yeah. Yeah.
Still difficult, for sure.
I definitely struggle with like the upper chest area where it tends to be kind of a more flat area in terms of color and shading. Where it ends up looking like a really dead area. The face, I'm not saying I'm that great at face rendering, but there's a lot more opportunity for shading and shadow. Whereas my upper chest, if it's a general, specific, standard lighting from the front-ish or so.
Relatively flat, but there's still a lot of variation in the skin tone there. The way that the surface is turning. So there are some things you can do there.
Yeah.
It
probably doesn't help that my reference is a little bit blown out, so we can't see as well, the shape of her collarbone.
She has some bright lights on her.
Yes.
So this is, you said, from the 1950s. Back then, we're a lot better with lighting now, but back then, I think things were maybe lit a little more like theater lighting, stage lighting, so things were maybe a little more often blown out than not.
Yeah. I like the way I rendered the gold on her snake wrist armband.
Yeah, that's cool.
I kept going back. I realized, again, workflow, start right and you won't have to spend so much time fixing. The hair gold, for sure. I just struggled with so much. This was fine. I never even got the hair golds to a place where I loved them.
I think they already look really cool.
Well, then I go back and I ruin them because they just ended up weird.
Yeah, that's definitely, as someone who teaches other people art, everything that you're saying is very common, common concerns and things I've heard many, many times over.
Yeah. It's fun to get to a point where I'm not just hearing these things that I've heard other people say, but I'm experiencing them, really experiencing them, so that I feel like the messages and the lessons resonate a lot more deeply. Of oh wow, it is really important to saturate midtones, and it is really important to have a nice, clean, readable sketch.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and this is an area I'd like to get better at, the eye rendering. I never really enjoyed where I got her eyes to.
You mentioned that in our last episode.
I did. For those of you who didn't see, Ben rendered eyes very nicely in the last episode.
Check it out. There will be a link down below.
Oh, there will be. And something that it's such a simple thing, but I mean not simple, but there's so many tutorials.
Eyes are so expressive and have so much character in them.
Yeah, and every reference looks a little bit different. I feel like there's no one size necessarily fits all for eye rendering, but
no, there's quite a variety of eye sizes based on style. But when it comes to actual humans, the eyes are pretty much roughly the same size.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I think what I need to do is find a style of eye rendering I like and really hammer down that workflow. Workflow is the name of the game for me lately. I really want to get a workflow.
It's all about the workflow here on Drawbli.
I want to really get my comfort zone down pat, and then
never leave it.
And then start to go out from there. Yeah.
Wow, she looks so good. I don't know what you're talking about with the gold with the hair. That looks awesome.
Oh, thank you.
And the colors in the hair look so cool. I love it.
Thanks.
You did a really good job.
Thank you. I learned some things. I could do better. If I did it again, I'm not going to do it again.
You mentioned the like flat shading in the chest, but one thing that's important with artwork and with character design is to have what's called a period of rest.
You're right.
You don't want everything to be the same level of visual interest. So, you got the face, and then you don't want everything competing with that.
Yeah. I was just thinking about that with something else I was drawing the other day, but thank you for pointing that out on this one, because that's encouraging. It's not dead, it's rest area.
Well, if you want to hear more encouragement in the future, you should click that subscribe button.
And comment below with other ideas of what we can do to improve as artists.
And this is the part where we say...
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
I have nothing to say. It's beautiful. It's finished.
You have nothing to say? Not a single thing?
Not a single tagline.